Welcome everyone to another edition of NoDQ&A video here on NoDQ.com. I am the hypocritical owner of NoDQ.com, Aaron Rift, and I say that because on the last edition of NoDQ&A video, I called MMA shit. When in fact, I am going to UFC 141 at the end of the month, December 30th, to cover the Brock Lesnar fight. So why am I going to a show that I think is shit? I have no idea, but I will be there. NoDQ.com will be covering the event, so stay tuned for that. But for now, let's get down to your questions regarding the world of professional wrestling, which is also sometimes shit as well. Who do you think will be WWE Champion going into WrestleMania 28, and who will Cody Rhodes lose his title to? Well, regarding Cody Rhodes, he could end up losing it to Booker T, and I think that's a possibility, especially if Booker T is having one last run. Why not let him get one more chance to be champion again? I could see that happening, and that's what I think will happen. I think Booker T will have a short, probably not a long run, but a short run as Intercontinental Champion. But we'll have to wait and see. And regarding who's going to be champion into WrestleMania 28, at first it seemed like it was going to be John Cena, so we would have John Cena versus The Rock for the title. But you know what? That match doesn't really need to be for the title. So most likely, I think it's just going to be CM Punk going into WrestleMania 28 as champion, and I'll talk more about that in just a second here. Let's see. Next question is, hey Aaron, I saw Road Dogg on the Slammy Awards. Any chance WWE will be forming DX of the Attitude Era? And can the Attitude Era make a comeback? Or any stables from the 90s like NWO coming back for just one more run? Well, sadly, I think NWO had their last run back in 2002. It did seem like a few months ago that they could have done something with Kevin Nash and R-Truth and Miz and maybe done a new NWO, but they chose not to go in that direction. So I don't think the NWO is going to reform again. I think that's history. And as far as DX goes, considering that Road Dogg came out and the crowd was completely dead for him. I mean, there was no reaction. Because of that, I don't see WWE in any kind of hurry to do some kind of DX reunion again. And, Shawn Michaels isn't going to be wrestling again, so there's really no point. And the Attitude Era is not going to make a comeback in the sense of all of a sudden the product's going to be, violent and all the profanity and all that. It's just not going to happen. So better get used to it. Okay, what is the point of TNA pay-per-view? The setup is exactly the same as the TV show, and the only difference is the screen by the ramp. Also, do you think it would have more of a pay-per-view vibe if there was a kind of a setup? Well, the purpose of TNA pay-per-views in the past used to be you would put down your $40 and you would get some great wrestling matches that you would not see on television. Basic logic right there, make people pay to see something special. And it's a problem with not just TNA but WWE as well. The pay-per-views are essentially 3-hour glorified TV shows. And yeah, I do miss the old sets. To be honest with you, I think those, at least from a visual standpoint, made it seem like it was something special from what you regularly see on TV. But it's not just the setup. It's putting on matches on the pay-per-view that people are gonna get something more than what they just see for free on television. And that's definitely a big problem with WWE and TNA, and why pay-per-view business for both companies has collapsed so much in the past few years. What are your thoughts on the rumored CM Punk versus Chris Jericho match at WrestleMania? Well, going back to earlier, I suspect that CM Punk will be the WWE Champion going into WrestleMania, and it could very well be Chris Jericho as his opponent. I think that would be an awesome match. The best in the world versus the best in the world at what he does. Built-in storyline right there. So yeah, I think it's a great idea if it happens. Of course, Jericho, as I expected, is completely denying it. And now in the latest video, they have a girl in the video, and then apparently she's the key to the return or whatever. So that got a lot of people talking about the idea of Shane McMahon and Stephanie coming back, but I don't think that's what it is. But it could just be a little curveball here, just trying to throw people off. We'll find out for sure on January 2nd. But yeah, I would really like to see CM Punk and Jericho. And somebody else asked me, what do you think about Undertaker and Triple H at WrestleMania 28 again? If CM Punk and Chris Jericho are having a match, then Triple H versus Undertaker is probably your best bet. I mean, I really wanted to see Mick Foley in that position, but I just don't know if he's going to be able to get into the ring shape, number one, and number two. Are they really going to let those guys go out there and have a hardcore, brutal, violent match that one would expect with Mick Foley and Undertaker? If they're going to be watered down, then there's really no point in doing that. So, you know what? I could see them, I think I talked about this before, where Shawn Michaels could possibly play a role in the match as a special referee or an enforcer, and kind of, the storyline is, will he help his friend Triple H, or will he help the guy that beat him twice and ended his career? So I think that's an interesting way to take the match and direction creatively to go with it. But we'll just have to see what happens. Things can change. Whatever WWE has planned right now, it can change next week. It can change next month. Who knows? Do you think the biggest draw in WWE is the brand name itself? Absolutely. That's one thing about the wrestling business that has really changed in the past several years is, going back up until around the late 90s, it was all about the individual as a draw. People would pay money to see Hulk Hogan, or people would pay money to see Bruno Sammartino or Ric Flair or whatever. But now people don't go to see a specific person. They go to see the WWE brand, and that's how WWE wanted to make it. Vince McMahon didn't want a situation where Hulk Hogan would leave the company and then he'd be screwed. He wanted his brand to be big, so there would be no one person bigger than the organization. And that's exactly what Vince McMahon was able to accomplish. And WWE is the brand name. It is the draw. People, if the WWE product is hot, it doesn't matter who's on the show. People are going to show up, just bottom line. All right, that'll do it for today's edition of No DQ&A video. Like I said, stay tuned to NoDQ.com for UFC 141 coverage, that MMA shit. And stay tuned to NoDQ.com for TLC coverage, more WWE shit. And on that note, we'll see you next time.